Hi, I'm Tom and Naomi from Dell EMC. This video will show the steps involved in deploying a stateful application on Tanzu Kubernetes Grid cluster via vSphere with Kubernetes and Dell EMC PowerFlex vVols. On the screen, you can see my vSphere with Kubernetes deployment. In addition to the supervisor cluster, which is running on the ESXi host directly, I deployed a Tanzu Kubernetes Grid cluster with 6 worker nodes. Also, I attached the PowerFlex vVol and PowerStore vVol storage policies to my Kubernetes namespace. These policies are attached to my vVol data stores and reflect as Kubernetes storage classes. For the purpose of this demo, I'm using my PowerFlex cluster to provision vVol-based Kubernetes applications. By navigating to the PowerFlex UI, we can see useful information about my cluster. I installed the SDC component on my ESXi hosts in order to provision vVols. You can also see that I already have about 22,000 vVols in my cluster. Back to the vSphere client, we can see that the vVol data store is already mounted on the ESXi host. ESXi use a logical I/O proxy called protocol endpoint to communicate with vVols and virtual disks files that vVols encapsulate. ESXi uses protocol endpoints to establish a data path on demand from virtual machines to their respective vVols. At this stage, I'm ready to deploy my application. I'm logging in to my TKG cluster using the kubectl command and specifying my vSphere user, the TKG cluster, and my Kubernetes namespace. We can take a look at the nodes to make sure we are in the right context. Here we can see the single control plane node and the 6 worker nodes. At this point, there are no pods or PVCs configured in my system. For the purpose of this demo, I'm deploying a MySQL instance and WordPress application which uses the MySQL database. Each application requires a persistent volume which represents as a single vVol. As you can see, I set the storage class for each application to the PowerFlex vVol storage policy. This allows me to dynamically provision vVol-based persistent volume for my Kubernetes workloads. Now, let's deploy the 2 applications by running the kubectl create command. You can see that the persistent volumes are being created and bound to the pods. In the background, you can see that these are basically PowerFlex vVols which are handled by the VMware Cloud Native Storage plugin. Within a few seconds, our 2 pods are up and running. If I go back to the vCenter, I can see the pods and container volumes create and attach tasks. Now, let's connect to the WordPress UI and configure my first website. As you can see, after a short registration process, my website is up and running, connected to the MySQL database, which uses the PowerFlex vVol as a persistent volume. Dell EMC PowerFlex vVols integration is a key component of this solution, as it offers full flexibility and granularity that are required by your containerized cloud-native application. I hope you will find this demo useful, and thank you very much for watching.